welcome to Shared Truth Applies Scripture. I'm Jordan Shambly, joined by Wesely Wildman and Cedra Sarton. And before we get into this episode, we just want to take a brief minute and talk about who we are and what we do, just in case any of you are new listeners and never heard us before. You're wondering, who are these people, and why should I care about anything they say? You might not have to care about anything we say, but here's who we are.
But if they made it this far, then they're still listening.
If you haven't switched to some other radio station, which I hope you don't, Engage Magazine. We are the part of the American Family Association that is an outreach to younger Christians, so people who are just graduated from college, just graduated from high school, going through college, graduated from college, building their careers, building a family, that stage of life,
married a few years, couple kids, no kids.
If you want to put a name to it, it might be millennials, but there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of overlap. So I'm Jordan Shambly. I'm the editor of Engage Magazine, so any of the words that go up on our website, which is engagemagazine.net, have passed through my hands, and so if you have a problem with that,
we can either be happy or blame you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm about to say. So if you see mistakes, please let me know at engagefaq.afa.net or at afa.net. I'm sorry.
And Jordan does a great job at his position. I'm glad that he is editing content and not me.
Well,
and not that I wouldn't want to, but they wouldn't want me to. You wouldn't want me to.
Well, I don't crunch the numbers for Engage because math is not my skill. So Wesely, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Wesely Wildman. I work about 30 or 40% on Engage. I oversee the concept and kind of steering the ship and making sure we're on the right track. I spend most of my time as a director of outreach for AFA and AFR, but I really enjoy being a host on the radio program, or co-host on the radio program here, and our podcast and our YouTube. And so I'm really grateful for that position. And then Cedra over here, she puts together the talk show host or the talk show notes, and then a couple other things.
Oh yeah, pretty much anywhere I need to be, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
So anything with the social media, like you said, putting together the talk show notes, editing the show afterwards. Rob does a great job recording all that, but then I edit it, put it together. Jordan edits our video for us.
Yes.
But I handle the audio part that you hear on the radio, which you can hear on American Family Radio Saturdays, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, if you want to listen. But you don't have to listen live. You can always go back to engagemagazine.net and listen to the podcast.
And we can all do a little bit of each other's different roles, but we do have emphasis, and Cedra does a lot with her social media. She makes sure that we have good content up there, and she does a great job there. So this is the team here.
Here we are.
This is the Engage team.
Now we just need to get Rob in here on the video so you guys can see him.
There's not
much
much
to
to
a
us.
picture of him up. I don't know.
Put a picture up.
There's not much to us, but we're really grateful for the opportunity. So please help us in spreading the word about Engage. Get it to your young adults. If you have kids or grandkids or a youth pastor that could benefit from this, we have a free magazine. It's an annual magazine. In addition to our online content and our social media platform, we have a free hard copy magazine that is a great representation of what we're trying to accomplish. And where can they get their free one, CJ?
Yeah, go to engagemagazine.net. You can click on the magazine tab at the top of the page, and you can fill out the information, and then we will send that out to you.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Well, help us out with doing that. Now, where are we going today? What's our topic for today,
Well,
Jordan?
this is such a key topic, and I was coming up with like a list of potential shows. This one kind of was one of the first ideas, is handling difference of opinion. So, and this is something that, I mean, just as human beings, you're going to encounter this because God has given us a variety of ways to think about things, and some of them are not necessarily good or evil or black and white. Some things we can disagree on in grace and politely and with humility. Agree to disagree on certain things. So this first segment is going to be talking about those things, handling those times when you come to a difference of opinion, handling it with grace. The second.
So then you're implying that there may be some conflict or disagreements in life.
Yeah. So I mean, if you haven't discovered that already, I mean, you're living under a rock.
Well, some people avoid them at all costs.
Hey, and
they live a life
I would
of avoiding.
almost be one of those people. I hate confrontation, but there is a way to handle it that is not a fight necessarily.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear you say.
That's what we're heading to.
That's what we want to accomplish. Because you weren't like that day one. I mean, am I right? Are we all of us? Because I'm similar like you. I don't like confrontation, disagreements. Right. But the reality is, as part of our maturity and part of our growth as a Christian, we come across things, and the main thing is not whether we've won the person, but how we've handled the person.
That's true.
And the way we've handled the thing, because God's gonna like what it says in Isaiah 55:11 that God's word's gonna accomplish what it's gonna accomplish. It's gonna go forth and do what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
And so like we're presenting truth and conveying truth. And so the emphasis here, and we'll get into it more in just a little bit, but it's about how we handle it, not necessarily changing their minds right away, because a lot of incremental changes. But my point is, you haven't always been. You've like many of us have grown in that thing, because I know people personally that they just avoid everything at all costs, and everybody's right.
Right.
There is no wrong. There's no difference of and so you can't. Obviously, as a Christian, we can't live a life like that. We're going to have to be able to be a professor of Christianity and convey truth. So can't avoid it.
Yeah. Well, and on the other hand, I mean, if you saw me as a teenager on social media, and especially as a young Christian, every little difference of opinion, I would try to fight you on. And I came across as this annoying little jerk, who was not representing Christ, because every little thing you had to agree with me on, because of course I knew what I was talking about. I don't know about you guys. So
no, I've been there too. Yeah, I know what you're talking
so
about,
exactly, there's a way to handle this that's scriptural and biblical and in harmony with who Jesus Christ is.
Absolutely.
And we can follow his example.
So kind of like starting with things, maybe there are things through language, the difference in language and translations of the Bible over time
there you go.
that may be confusing to some people, or things that you kind of interpret differently. Not things that are like straightforward, like this thing and that, this is this, that is that. But things like you read in Revelation. There's a lot of things in Revelation that a lot of people interpret differently than others, just because the language, it's hard. You try to envision, what does this mean?
Right.
But I don't think you can disagree on those things without it being. It doesn't have to be like
fellowship.
Exactly.
And this is one area where I do believe a formula does help. So I have a formula that y'all are not aware of, so y'all can kind of give me your first
formula.
reaction, okay?
And then we can tell you if he lives by it. No, I'm just
right, exactly. That's true. You can do that.
Weekly updates.
When I was in my process of growing, going, man, Wesley, like, is this really that big of a deal, or is it? Maybe it is. Then I was reading through the back of my ESV study Bible, English Standard Study Bible, and in the back, not too far, it gives you some biblical doctrine and an overview. And in that process, it came across what I call principles or preferences. Okay, and in those principles and preferences, it also breaks it down a little further. So let me start here. It says, think about a target. Somebody that would be shooting at with an arrow at a target. You got the core in the middle. You got about 4 or 5 different rings, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the middle, it's really small. It are absolutes, which define core beliefs of Christian faith, and then the next layer of the target would be convictions, while not core beliefs, but may be a significant impact on the health and the effectiveness of the church. So convictions. So you got absolutes, you got convictions, and then on thirdly, which is a lot bigger scope, you've got opinions, which are less clear issues and generally are not worth dividing over, which is what we're talking about. Once you get to that, you get to opinions, and last but not least, which is kind of back to what Cedra was emphasizing on the Revelations, you've got questions. They're not even, people don't even have an opinion on. They just don't even know where to begin, And so so if you could just visualize that, and then ask yourself, which one on the particular issue that we're talking about, a lot of factors come into play. The church history, the scripture for one. That's the most important. What the scripture says about it, and the interpretation there. So you have, if you could visualize, you've got absolutes, really small. Convictions, which are a little bigger, but very important. And then you've got opinions, and last but not least, questions. And so for me, that's helped me in my formula of understanding. And I've already put so many in each category, and so when I begin to discuss something, I already know where I am on these. And it's very important, and it's very helpful. So I thought maybe that would be helpful.
I've never seen it laid out like that before. That's extremely helpful. We might want to share that actually on social media if we can find a way to do that.
Myself.
Well, there you go. Our content coordinators on top of that.
Yeah.
But that's an excellent way of visualizing that, and I would argue that like the the convictions area of the angle is where most people kind of
that's
get
where the tension
a little
would be
fuzzy.
probably, yeah.
Is because it does your convictions do have a large impact on how the objective truths of the gospel play themselves out in your life.
Yep.
And I think, and I think sometimes in that category, there are things that God is speaking directly to an individual that he may not necessarily be telling someone else.
Yeah.
Like, God is telling you to move to this area to do work for him here. Well, he's not saying to everybody, if you're a Christian, you will move to this area.
Right.
He's telling that individual person.
Yeah.
And so...
Exactly.
So I
that's
think
the difference between a personal conviction and an actual truth.
Well, I knew another quick example. I knew a lady who didn't wear makeup, but she spoke to me. She goes, "I don't have a problem with people wearing makeup.
Sure.
I hope not, because I'm wearing it at the moment." But
while she's talking to you,
and stuff. But she says it is my personal conviction that I shouldn't, and I think that's way of God telling me he wants
that
to
may
keep
be
me
an
humble
identity issue for
and
her.
not have vanity in my life.
Sure.
And so for her, that's something that she does, but it's not necessarily like.
And it had to do with the effectiveness of her witness too.
Yeah.
She was able to convey that and talk about how strong she believed in that. So
Wow.
that's a good thing. And good for her. And I love the way she handled that. Another thing that's important to note on this, for me, as I'm processing, when I know that there are things that we're having a discussion in which I may disagree with here, or vice versa, they may disagree with me. You also have to ask yourself, be very intentional about focusing on things that are amoral and things that are immoral.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes in our discussions, talking about finances, we have the intentions on saying, well, money, oftentimes we act as if money is the issue. But really, it's a heart issue because money is amoral.
Right.
It doesn't, it can be used for either good or for evil. And there's a lot of things. Social media is either amoral, can be used for good or for evil. Now, for me personally, conviction-wise, I don't do social media.
Yeah, there
and I don't have time to list all the reasons why I don't. But
that's another program.
Yeah, it's another program. But the point is that we need to check ourselves before we get too frustrated about something. Is something amoral? Is it the object a problem, or is it so is it amoral? Is the object or not the problem, or is it object immoral? The object's immoral. There's nothing much to talk about. It's wrong, and we don't need to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we're gonna go into the nitty gritty, sort of like what is black and white, and how do we handle those objective things in the Bible that are true, that are hills worth dying on. Thank you for listening to this segment. Stay tuned for next segment, and we hope to see you there.